Hello everyone, today I'm going to be taking a look at some more models for Bot War by Traders Galaxy as I check out the Dinoborg faction and the Brontoborg. Alright then, the Dinoborg Battleforce for the Red Star Nations contains within here a Tyrannoborg, Stegoborg, Tricerborg, Terraborg, Ankleoborg, Pachyoborg, 3 Raptorborgs and your stat cards. You also get a little bit of a brief about what's going on. Essentially, Red Star Commandos stole green ooze, mutagenic ooze, from the overlords, the aliens who had landed in the Red Star Nation's territory, and used it to create their own massive dinosaurs and then cyborged them up. So inside you get a couple of Ziploc bags containing all your resin and bases, and you get your cards. We'll look at the cards with the actual miniatures in a moment, but let's take a look at the miniatures first. So I really like these little Ziploc bags. So everything's out. Get 3mm beveled round bases. By 3mm I mean depth, in case people are wondering, of various sizes. We have our little raptors, which are 3-piece miniatures, so each comes with a back leg and a little cybernetic arm. Bump, bump, bump. We have our Stegoborg here, which only requires back legs and gun, I think. Yes. So there's the massive artillery piece. This goes on the front, and then just a couple of legs. That's a remarkable bit of resin. Really nice cast as well, very clean. Slight seam line through the middle, but it is very slight. And then we have our Tyranno. Again, constructed in such a way that the majority is already on there, as much as they can anyway. So we have a turret on the back, 1 leg to go on, and then the 2 little arms. There's some really fine detail on that mouth. All the fangs. And the tongue as well. We'll take a look at them up close and personal when they're built. That's the first set of resin. I'll try and keep these separate to make my life easier. And our second set, again, bases. And oh, my word. The Tricerborg is apparently 2 pieces, and that's just the head going on. That's an outstanding bit of casting. There is a bit of flashing under the oxter there that will need to be cleaned, but apart from a minimal mold line just with the seam running around it, I can't believe they've managed to actually do that without major inconvenience of having all 4 limbs attached and the big missile pod on the back. That's outstanding. Literally outstanding already. We have our carrier here, some legs to go on, the terror, bit of cleanup. It looks like it comes in 4 pieces. So legs and body, and then wings. Right. There's even a little acrylic rod to use as a flight stand for the terror. Let's go into one of those. Oh no, it wouldn't, would it? It would go into the body. Yes. Right, let's get these all cleaned up and assembled, and we'll take a look at them in closer detail. Okay, the second box then is the Brontoborg Land Fortress, or if you're from Sweden, Brontoborg. It is nicknamed Bolshaya Devoka by her scientist handlers. The Brontoborg is the most powerful weapon of war Red Star possesses. The internals have been compacted to create room for cyborg legionnaire mini repair factory and ordnance storage. And it has two primary weapons, the City Destroyer, which is a twin artillery cannon, and the massive 100-ton tail mace. So that's all good. And inside the box we get, ooh, big black bag, a massive base, and a set of Red Star cards. Cards will come later, but let's take a look at what you get. Base is a base is a base, 3mm beveled lip. Oh my word. Ooh, that is a honking chunk of resin. So, 4 legs are separate. Main body and head simply go like that. And then we have holes everywhere for the myriad of defensive and offensive guns that are all over it. A bit of a seam line running down the back. And there as well. Will need to be cleaned up a little. But overall, solid cast. Can't see any air bubbles or slippage. Ooh, is a bit thin there. However, that won't really be seen once you're, well, it won't be seen once the head's on and you're painting the background. But just the very wall of the back is a little bit thin. Might fill that in with a bit of putty before I do anything else with it. Let's get him built and then we'll take a look at him in all his glory. All right, back, built. Went together very easily, as you may imagine. It is an absolute beast of a thing. You may also notice that it got a bit of a black rub on it. That's because I handled it with wet gloves. Ignore that. So, the Brontoborg, all built up, guns in place, and ready to rock and roll on the botboard tabletop. It is, for those who want to know, approximately 195 millimeters from snout to tail mace, and approximately, what's that, 85? I'm going to say about 85 mil tall. Beautiful bit of kit, lovely bit of resin. Also lovely stats wise as well. So this is the new 3rd edition stat card. If you've not seen it before, points for your game. A lot of bot war games play around 90-100 points, so this is a good chunk of your army. It generates 2 pink energy, which is your standard, 1 red energy, which can't be used for ranged attacks, which is a shame because it has a lot. But when used for shielding or boosting close combat attacks, it's much better. Allows you to re-roll failures. Then stat line, strategy rating 10, which is excellent. Move of 5, not particularly great. Range is 6/2, and that's because if anybody's in short range of these ridiculous guns, you only fire 2 against them. Otherwise, it's got unlimited range with 6 dice for those massive city-destroying cannon. Close attack is 3. However, it is a Titan because it's on a big base, which means it gets 2 additional critical die in close combat instead of your standard 1. Shield rating of 5 and hit points of 10. And it has adrenaline, which is terrific. So adrenaline means for 2 energy, you can gain a critical dice worth of hit points and attack dice for close combat for the rest of that turn. The hit points last for the rest of the game. If it gets killed before it uses its adrenaline ability, you leave the model on the table where it died and generate energy like normal, and the adrenaline kicks in and it stands back up with a crit dice worth of hit points. So you don't have to worry about being one-shotted so much, because it will take a lot to put it down. It does have some other rules apart from the big guns. It can earthquake, so it can exchange its normal ranged attack for 1 automatic damage point for every unit within 6 inches, friend or foe, except themselves, as it stamps on the ground, and that attack cannot be shielded. And it can transport 3 Cyber Legionnaire sections, which you can see mounted in the back. And it also has a tail smash. So if the enemy is damaged in close combat by this unit after it shields, add +2 damage to the total for that massive swinging mace. So that's particularly funky. Cyber Legionnaires are separate, so you can pick these up. They also have adrenaline, which is great. They are an infantry unit, so they're just there to run around, capture objectives, and make a general nuisance of themselves. But, I mean, if you're going to be taken into battle in any way, shape, or form, I'm pretty sure Brontoborg is more fun than being driven in a APC. All right, I'm back. Everything is built up. Builds were all very quick. There wasn't anything particularly tricky with them or any issues I ran into with the builds. You can see the mighty Tyrannoborg there with his huge guns. Like I say, things like the individual teeth in there are absolutely superb. Not on his base yet, because I like to base separately, so I can actually do streets and stuff on them. In case you're wondering, he is around about 35 mil to the top of his head and approximately 75 mil long. Game-wise, 21 points. Generates 1 pink, 2 red energy. Red energy, very good for close combat and movement. Can't be used for shields and shooting boostings. Stat line, strategy rating of 9, so quite quick. Movement of 7, range 3, close combat 4, shields 3, and 10 hit points. Has adrenaline, which either allows you to get back up when you've been killed, or you can use it preemptively to boost your attack dice and your hits. Attack dice only last for the turn. Hit points are permanent though, so you can go over this initial 10. You could go up as high as 13 because it's a crit dice worth of attacks. But it means your monsters, your Dinoborgs, are always going to be capable of doing something. They can't just be wiped out in one turn. It has a couple of abilities. Pugilist, so they can reroll 1 critical attack die per turn, and if they've used red energy to boost that for a close attack, then they get to roll 2. And Martial Warrior, they can perform 2 super abilities in a game. This may be the same super ability twice, which in this case it can be. So the adrenaline can pump through their veins a couple of times. It's a really nice chunky beginning for the Tyrannoborgs. Up next, we have the Stegoborg. No special abilities, just a stat line. Generates 2 energy. Again, has the adrenaline super ability and has that majestic gun coming right down Main Street. So again, beautiful model, really nicely detailed. Small amount of cleanup needed if you're finicky like me. Otherwise, you could probably get away with just giving this a quick wash and off you pop. From barrel to tail, about 70 mil, and size-wise, up to the top of the Stegodon, not sure what they call them, fins? Probably not fins. Around 30mm to these stegs, I'm going to call them, all the way down to the Thagmeister on his tail. So a nice piece of ranged weapon. Good healthy 4 dice of ranged attack is always good. The Tricerborg, possibly my favourite build ever, considering just 2 pieces. You can see just how neatly that joins. There's the join mark there. Once this has been primed, that join mark's practically invisible, and then just a wee bit of cleanup to be done around the legs. But otherwise, having all 4 limbs and the weapon attached on the back, that's still the most outstanding thing for me ever from any company. Because generally mods like that, you wouldn't. It would rip them apart. A mere 60mm to snout, and then around, what's that, 25mm tall to the top of the head, about 35 to that big missile rack on it. Speaking of, has ground-to-air missiles, so the ranged attacks are short up to 24 inches, which is impressive because most ranged attacks only have a 20-inch range. So theoretically this is explosively good, and can reroll hits once per turn when targeting enemy flyers, jetpacks, things like that. So deceivers jetting around the place can be shot out of the sky, as can terrible coils with all of their jet fighters and choppers. So really nice piece of kit, beautifully detailed. I love the big red stars engraved on their armor in various places. Armor or cybernetic enhancements. We have the Dinoborg, which is a troop transport. You see our 2 crew sitting on top on their thrones. Again, beautiful detailing all the way down to that massive spiked mace tail and the armoured head with a couple of big guns up front, which is really cute. Can transport 2 Cyber Legionnaire sections, which is nice. So a bit more interesting than your standard troop transport. No red energy, just pink. But pink is better for multiple uses, shall we say. Then we have our Tricerborg. Again, no additional rules for this fellow. Interesting build. So the 2 legs go together and then they attach to the bottom of the torso, and then that creates the round, or I suppose the hemispherical pin that goes into the wing section. Very, very tidy little birdie. We'll need to drill out the hole for the flight stand. That's probably the only thing I could qualify as a miscast, in that it's not perfectly circular and the flight stand won't immediately go into it. However, if that's the only problem you ever run into with a miniature when you're assembling it, you are doing spectacularly well. Wingspan, in case you need to know, is 60mm, and from laser head to laser claw, 35mm long. Just a beat stick of movement. No special rule saying it's a flyer. I assume that's going to be errated if it hasn't already been, because I imagine it is. But there you go, fast mover anyway. And then we're into our smaller stuff. So we have the Dinoborg, who's an absolute little darling. If I bring in Big Daddy biped, you can see just size difference there between them. Dinoborg comes with a couple of massive Gatling guns with these huge belt-fed ammunition, which is really nice. and a knife tail and a reinforced head for the headbutting, which is why everybody likes Pachyborgs. They are so much fun to repeatedly slam into somebody's face. He is around 40 mil long and about 25 high. 2 pink, 1 red. No special abilities. However, the super ability here is not adrenaline. Super ability is ram, which gives a bonus to the movement and a bonus to the combat effectiveness. So you want to be charging in, using the ram attack, and then boosting that critical, or boosting your attack with the red energy to get your bonus reroll for when you come in there. So he's very punchy. Just headbutt the kneecaps off some giant bots. It's the best way to do it. Then our last are actually the Raptors. So you can either buy an individual base, which is 6 points, or you can buy 2 bases as a Raptorborg Murder, which is 9 points and has a slightly adjusted stat line because it works like a unit. The 2 bases together are the same thing. Now, when you're playing Bot War, you can't field multiple things without a card. So you couldn't field 3 of these as individuals. You would either field them as 1 and 2, or 2 by itself or 1 by itself. So it's just how Bot War works. If I pop those there. The little Raptors I have had to base, partly because they won't get in my way when it comes to the basing I do for Bot War. And also because if I was to hold these in my big chunky fingers, you don't see them. But they all have their little gun on the back, which looks like a single shot surface to air missile. And that is obviously comes across in the limited ammo rule. So the unit may only make 1 ranged attack activation per turn. I imagine somewhere are some Red Star Nation people running around behind them, refilling these rockets every time they get launched. So they are a mere 15 mil to the top of the missile, almost 20 to tail, and about 8 mil to eye level. And then from snout to tail is around 28. So that is all of the miniatures. Bot War generally plays around about 100 points for a game. This Dinoborg starting set is over 100 points, about 107, although that would be using all of these. So you can comfortably field a full force from this. You do get additional cards with the box. So essentially you get the entire Red Star Nation card deck, if you want to think of it like that, with the box set. So this shows you some of the other things you can get. So there's General Melkov, who is mounted on a Tyrannoborg of his own, which has a couple of super abilities. General Gerry, mounted on a Terraborg. Then we have some standard military equipment. So Zvezdekod, the heavy caliber gun, H-11 gunship, some of the infantry, so OYH-46, the J-12 Firewolf, your Cyborg Legionnaires that can be carried by the Ankleborg, and then an explanation of red energy, how it works in comparison to pink, and then upgrades. So you can use these to modify your list. So maybe, you know, if you're at 97 points and you're playing a 100-point game, then you might want to go in and give somebody combat stim, which at the start of the unit's activation, they may add 3 inches to its move, 1 use only, or something big like the red glow. You know, this upgrade has 2 additional red energy points that are specific to the unit, not part of the actual pool. Expensive, but really leans into the close combat capabilities of something. So those are the Bot War cards, and the Dinoborg miniatures. The Stegoborg, with that redonkulous gun. No special rules, just a solid stat line for 17 points. Slow moving, but range of 4. So, does exactly what it says in the tin. The fact that most of them generate red energy does reduce their firing capability, so they can't go completely ham, because you can't use it for firing. So it'll be used for moving. And then you'll just have to use your pink energy for firing. So it's a balancing restriction of the force itself. And we have our Pachyoborg. This one's a little teeny tiny fellow, only 20 mil-ish to eye level, although he is headbutting somebody, so he might be slightly taller than that. Doesn't have adrenaline, does have the ram attack super ability, which lets him move faster and deal more damage in melee combat when he runs in there. And he's got decent ranged as well as close combat attack, so both 3, but obviously when he sticks the head into somebody, that increases his damage a bit, which is a nice way of doing it. Also has a really sharp bladed tail. Then we have the Tricerborg, which is our flyer. This was a funky little build. So your 2 legs go together, which then make a little dome that then fits into the divot between the body and the wings. So it's all very snug. I will need to drill out that hole because the flying stand doesn't fit it. So that's the only sort of, I don't want to say miscast, it's the only part that isn't perfect cast. The rest of the model itself was spot on. It was shrieking, firing laser bird. Again, just a solid stat line. Shockingly doesn't list it as flying, but I imagine it is. Movement 10, and close combat of, range attack of 3, close combat of 1. So little swoop attacks aren't going to be great. So probably don't use it for that. But for harassing people on an objective, always good. And finally, we have our Raptors. And with the Raptors, there's 2 ways you can actually bring them into your game. So you can have a single Raptorborg, seen here, being very tiny. Or you can get a murder, which is 2 Raptorborgs. Now you can't duplicate unless there are duplicate cards. So you can't field 2 singles. You would field the murder, but he's got 9 points compared to 6, so you'd be paying 12 if you were trying to do it that way. However, if you want to field all 3, you would buy that and that. Rawr. And as you can see, there's slight differences for having the murder over having the individual, because essentially these work as a single unit of 2 bases. So when you're playing, you may want to, if you've got the extra points, have the second unit, or the second stand or base, whatever you want to call it, just to give you that extra hit point or 2. Also increases their strategy rating, which is really good as well. So there you have it. That is the Red Star Nation's Dinoborgs. All right then, the Red Star State's Dinoborgs. Up-armoured and up-gunned dinosaurs armed to the teeth. I mean, they are absolutely fantastic as a faction. And in a game where everybody focuses on massive bots, sometimes giant mutagenic dinosaurs covered in weaponry is the way to go. They certainly won't see it coming. Or in the case of the Brontoborg, they almost certainly will see it coming. But let me know what you think below. And if you're into Bot War, 3rd edition has just dropped as well. So these are an ideal time to get the Red Star State Dinoborgs in and whipping tail. Let me know what you think below. Until next time, bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.